Hi, Kinders. I have some cards to read to you, and it is the story of the King of the Winds. What can help Odysseus go from here to there? That's the question you're going to think about. How can he get from here to there? Once upon a time, a man named Odysseus traveled the world on a great adventure. He and his men sailed the seas in a grand ship. One day, Odysseus and his men sailed to an island. The island was ruled by Odysseus, the king of the winds. Aeolus proudly welcomed Odysseus and his men. "You are welcome here, my brave travelers. Please stay in my city." So Odysseus and his men stayed on the island, and he told him, the king of the winds, about his long journey on the ocean. Eventually, Odysseus was ready to return home. "I have been away from my family for a long time," he told the king of the winds. To help Odysseus get home, the king of the winds decided to give Odysseus a wonderful gift. The king of the winds handed Odysseus a plain bag. Odysseus watched as the king of the winds filled the bag with many stormy and noisy winds. He used his great strength to tie the top tightly with a string so none of the bad winds could escape. "I have put all of the bad winds into this bag," said the king of the winds. "Now they will not bother you on your way home. Good luck on your long journey." "Thank you," said Odysseus as he took the bag. "Since our transportation is a sailing ship, it will be much easier to travel without terrible winds blowing us in different directions." So Odysseus went back to the ship. His men prepared the ship to sail away from the island. Everyone on the island waved goodbye to Odysseus. Then the king of the winds used a good wind to blow Odysseus and his ship toward home. Odysseus and his men sailed for 9 days. The gentle winds helped to push their sea vehicle slowly and safely across the water. On the 10th day, Odysseus could see land from the ship. Soon they would be home with their families. "We are almost home at last," he told his men. "Our ships should reach land soon." Since Odysseus was tired from the long journey, he decided to take a short nap. But his men were not so sleepy. They looked curiously at the big bag that Odysseus had carried into the ship. "I want to see what's in this bag," said one sailor. "I bet it's filled with gold and silver. We should have some of that treasure for ourselves." Then one of the men ripped open the bag. Odysseus heard a loud noise and quickly woke up. He saw the open bag and the sailors staring at the angry winds rushing out of it. "Uh-oh, that can't be good." "Oh no," shouted Odysseus as he jumped up and grabbed the bag, but it was too late. The stormy winds had already escaped from the bag. They swirled around the ship and flew into the sky. Soon there was a terrible storm. The fierce storm lasted for a long time. As the storm raged, the ship changed course and sailed away from Odysseus's home. "We are moving back toward the island of the king of the winds," cried Odysseus as he stared at the rolling waves. After sailing on the wide sea for many days, Odysseus and his men gradually reached the island. Odysseus told the king of the winds what had happened, and he begged him for help. But the king of the winds would not help Odysseus. "I will not help you this time. You must get home on your own," he said. Odysseus and his men had no choice. Once again they left the island, But this time they had no good winds to carry their ship, and it would take them much longer to get home. The sailors realized that what they did was wrong. They were truly sorry that their curiosity to see what was in the bag caused such trouble. They learned an important lesson, and Odysseus and his men finally made it home after all. So what happened in this story? What happened first? Do you remember? Let's look at the card to remind us. What happened first? That's right. Odysseus and his men were sailing on a grand ship, and they got to an island. What happened next? Who was at the island? Let's look at the card to remind us. That's right. The king of the winds was on the island, and he gave Odysseus a gift. He gave him a bag of terrible winds, right? So that they would be in a bag so they wouldn't mess with the ship. What happened next? That's right. The men that were sailing with Odysseus didn't know what was in the bag, and they were so curious. They really wanted to know what was in the bag. They thought maybe it was gold. So they opened the bag. Oh no. What happened last? That's right. The wind was making the boat go all over the place, and they ended up back at the island. And the king of the wind said, "Oh no, now you're on your own," right? And they had to really, really try hard to get home with all that crazy wind. But they got home. So at last, they did get home. So that was a good ending. But oh my goodness, what trouble in the middle of that story. Thank you for reading the story of the King of the Winds. That was a legend. So it's a story that grandparents have told their grandkids, and they keep telling the story and keep telling the story. And so that's why it's called a legend. That's pretty interesting. Thank you for reading that legend with me, and I will talk to you next time.